Hi everybody, welcome back to season 2. This is the first recipe. As I said in my trailer, we've got some belly pork, which we're going to do with some swede instead of potato. Remember I said we're doing a low carb diet. Some sprouts, you would have seen the ingredients on the front page, and some smoked bacon and a bottled barbecue sauce. So basically what we're going to do is going to oven roast the pork strips, pan fry the sprouts with the bacon, and boil and mash the swede with a little butter and pepper at the end. And that will basically be drizzled with barbecue sauce towards the end of roasting, just to get that flavour going through it as well. So what I'm going to do now is basically do the prep. So we've got a roasting tray, which basically I'm going to add a little oil to. And then we're going to season the pork as we put it on with the proverbial salt and pepper. So we're going to just sprinkle it on fairly generously, because you want to get flavour in there all the way from the start. Okay, and then second time you put it down, first one you put on, just smear the oil around a bit so it's covering the dish. And again, salt and pepper side down, so that you can salt and pepper the other side. Cloth. And a lot of what you see me do at home, you would not do in a professional kitchen, so don't think that I'm a professional, because as I said at the beginning of season 1, I've spent a lot of time in the catering trade, but actually most of it was front of house. So what I do in the kitchen is probably not allowed. So they're going to go in the oven later on about 200 degrees, top of the oven to start with to get them crispy, turn them halfway through and then to the bottom of the oven and turn the oven down so they slow cook. The bacon into the frying pan and sprouts around the edge. And the idea is the heat starts in the middle of the pan and the bacon fat will render down and help cook the sprouts. They're going to cook on top for about 20-25 minutes, very slowly, and then crisp up at the end. So that's that, nice and easy. And then the swede, just dice it basically, so you know, get them all roughly the same size, because if you don't, you've got some that are cooked and some that aren't. So I just basically do it in strips like that. Move that out of the way so you can see what I'm doing. That'd be a good start. And this will take a good half an hour to make it mashable, which is fine. It's just a matter of time and timing this before cooking. So you've got the pork will take about 50 minutes in total, sprouts about 25 minutes in total, this is about half an hour in total. So you put the pork on, when you turn that over halfway through is the time to turn on the swede, and then when you drop it down in the bottom of the oven, that's the time to turn on the sprouts pretty much. But we'll go through this as I cook. I'm just doing the prep side of it at the moment, so everything is ready. Okay, and cold water for root vegetables, how I was taught. If you want to add boiling water to it, some people do. And again, a good dose of salt. Put pepper on when we actually mash it, add pepper and butter. Okay, so that's that. So that basically is your 3 ingredients. And I'll take a shot of that from above in a moment, just so you can see it from there. And that's basically everything ready to cook. So I'm going to cook this a little later in the day, so I've just done the prep, and then basically I'll come back to you later in the day and we'll go through the cooking process. Alright, catch you a bit later on. Thank you. Welcome back, guys. So we're now ready to cook our dinner. You saw me do the prep earlier in the video. So now it's what, 4:45. We're going to eat around 5:30, 4:45. So we're going to get everything turned on. My daughter's going to come in and do some filming for us, which I've told you about. You won't see her because she'll be not in this shot, she'll be in her own shot, so she'll be behind the camera, but just so you're wondering how things are happening. So I'm going to invite her in now. So that's all on. When that's up to temperature, the pork will go into the oven at the top for about 15-20 minutes on that side, and then come out, we turn it over, do the same again for another 15-20 minutes, and then the last 10-15 minutes will be at the bottom of the oven to just finish tenderising up. At the first turn of the pork, we will turn on the Swede, and that will boil away until it's soft. We then add a little bit of pepper, a little bit of butter, and mash it. And then lastly, the sprouts with the bacon. As I explained earlier, the bacon goes into the middle of the pan because that was where most heat will come from. So in the middle of the pan, that will start to crisp up, and then I will add probably a little bit of water to that just to get the sprouts in steaming as well as frying. And then that will go on about 20 minutes before we eat, so once the second turn is done. Hopefully that all makes sense to you. And so I'm going to go back to the main camera now, and we will see you when this stuff starts to go in the oven and when I plate up later. Take care. So guys, I said I'd introduce you to Ruby. This is Ruby, our 10-year-old Norfolk Terrier that we've had for about 5 years. We rescued her from a breeder because she couldn't produce anymore, and she is an absolute gem. You'll probably notice over the months that she's in our videos that you'll see she's got no teeth. She's got 3 teeth left out of 32 I think they're supposed to have, because she lost all her calcium in her body, so her teeth were where it all came out. But she's a little bit camera shy, probably wondering what is going on with all the bright lights. But you will see her and hear her tippy-tapping. If I put her down now, you'll hear her tippy-tappy away. So I will do that, and then you'll get used to that sound. And there you go, tippy tappy, tippy tappy. So you've met Ruby, and we'll see you a bit later on to get this stuff cooking. Okay? Hi guys, welcome back. So 20 minutes has passed since we put the pork in the oven. So I'm just going to set this out and give it a turn. Take a picture so you can see what we're looking like. Always close the oven when you're leaving something out for a little while, just helps keep the temperature up. And you can just see that it's starting to crisp up across here. I'll take some video on my phone for this. So guys, you can see the rendering of the fat going across there and all the way across, so we'll turn that over. I'll use my try and do a bit of filming while I'm doing the work. Probably won't work, but you can see the difference. If I turn 2 over and leave 2 unturned, you can see the big difference there between the side that's cooked and the side that's not. Pork itself will be cooked all the way through because it doesn't take long to cook a piece of meat this size, but you want the crispiness and the tenderness. At the moment that will still be quite tough, and that we don't want basically. So that'll go back in the oven now for another 20 minutes, and then I'll put the Swede on as well at the same time, which is ready to go. And basically that will go on it's initially number 9, so that it comes to the boil. When it comes to the boil, it'll simmer for on about number 6 for the rest of the cooking time for the pork, which will be about 30 minutes. Okay, so okay guys, another 20 minutes has gone, so we're going to have another look at the pork. You can see this one is a lot darker this time. Again, shut the oven door. And we're going to just quickly have a look at this, see how tender it is. It's starting to get really, really soft. We'll turn it back over. You can see this side is slightly less done than the other. But that is shaping up to be one very, very nice bit of pork belly that will have loads and loads of flavour. I'm going to take a still with my phone so I can put a picture of the close-up as well for you guys. Won't keep you a moment. So, where are we? Camera. There we go. So we're all good on the pork side. The other thing, so that's going to go back in the oven just to brown off that top. Next thing to do is check the Swede. Yeah, another 10 minutes and that will be good. We're now going to turn on the sprouts again, start it off on number 9. And I've got a splash guard here because the bacon will sizzle first. And then once the bacon has rendered down a little bit, we will then add, as I said, a little bit of water. It's always better if you can add hot water, so I'm going to just boil the kettle a little bit. That's going to get a bit noisy. But as soon as this starts to sizzle up, we're then going to put this on top with a bit of water underneath. That will help it steam the sprouts, soften them up. And by the time they're cooked, that should be cooked to go into mashing and the pork should be ready to come out. And what I'll do in a few minutes is turn the pork down from 200 to about 180, just so it doesn't get too black. So I'm going to go and get this again and do a bit of filming. So you can see and hear that starting to sizzle, and the idea is we're going to render down the bacon. I've used smoked bacon to give a more flavour, but that will basically render down and the flavours from the bacon will go into the sprouts. What I will also do is the fat to come off the pork is add a little bit of that to the sprouts as well. I think it will help the cooking process and speed it up. I'll show you that in just a moment. The kettle's boiled, ready to go as soon as the bacon is fully rendered. This won't take very long at all. I can smell smells from the bacon smoked are really getting up my nose. It's a wonderful, wonderful smell. So as soon as these start to brown off, in with the water, turn it down to number 7 and put the lid on, and then that'll just steam away and let the sprouts cook all the way through. So that bacon is now cooking, so I'm going to stir it through the sprouts and get some flavour. Sprouts, you'll notice I've just chopped in half. It just helps them cook a bit quicker and you keep a lot more of the freshness in there. So I'll add a splash of water and I literally will just put a squiz around. You'll hear it make a noise and that is good to go. So we're then going to put that on top of there and that will just slowly cook. Turn this down to number 7 and we are done as far as just waiting for things to cook. Pork fat that comes out of there I will add into that in a little while, and that will help the flavours come out of both the bacon and the sprouts, so you get all that juiciness from the pork. So yeah, I'm going to switch off again, and then really next thing we'll be doing is plating up, so we'll see you then. Okay guys, welcome back. Cooking time from the time side of it is done. We're just going to check everything to make sure. Start by checking the Swede. This should be soft. Knife should literally just go straight through it and not stick. That is still sticking, so that needs literally a couple of minutes. It's only just. Then we'll check the sprouts, just make sure they're okay. And again, they should be soft. If you like them al dente, just don't cook them quite as much. they're still quite firm, so I'm going to give them another 5 minutes as well. And the important one, the pork. So look, and that, I can tell you without even testing it, is done and looking stunning. So turn the oven down just to keep it warm. But that is tender and lovely and bouncy, and that will be absolutely stunning. I'm going to turn it over one more time because we're going to film this bit one more time just so that we get the moisture all around it. And if you remember rightly, so I was going to put some of this fat in with the sprouts to cook because the flavour would be amazing, or I'll do that at this point as well. So all you do is lift the lid off the sprouts and then just hold this at a very slight angle and put a little bit of the fat in there, which will render down with the sprouts and help the cooking process. So this is going back down into an oven around about 100 degrees now, just to keep it warm. Swede, a couple of 3 minutes, and the sprouts are similar, so we should be another 5 minutes. So apologies, timing sometimes veg takes longer to cook, but it is a matter of trying. Somebody says to me, how long does it take to cook sprouts? Until they're cooked is the answer. Roughly 25 minutes, 20 minutes. They've had 20 minutes so far, they're not quite ready. So with the Swede, that's had about 35 minutes. It's going to need 40. Every vegetable is different, it cooks slightly differently, so to have exact timings on everything, sometimes it's not as easy as a lot of the chefs on telly make out. And that's not a slant on them, they do brilliant, brilliant work, they've inspired me. So give that another 5 minutes, I will come back to you again and we'll go from there. Thank you. Hi guys, well 5 minutes passed, so hopefully everything's now ready. So we're going to test the Swede. And as I say, it should just go straight through, that is perfect. So we're going to drain this. If you want to use a colander, feel free. I tend to just use a cloth and hold the lid like so. And then drain the water out. That's your call. You get as much of the liquid out of there as possible. And then basically that is now good to go. We're going to put a twist of pepper in there. Come in, Ken, take some shots darling please, thank you. And then we're going to put a good lump of butter in there. Like so, this is just butter we had in a butter dish for putting on the table over the weekend. Once that's in, give it a little stir, and then we're ready to mash. My wonderful masher, as I say, pampered chef. Still going in America, I'm not sure whether they're still going in this country, but you can order them online, so I'm guessing they'll come from stateside. Best masher I've ever had. Now, how you mash it is up to you, whether you like a rough mash or whether you like it almost pureed. I like it sort of somewhere between the two, so I'll just do this and then show you once I've done it. Okay, so we have a look in the pan now, and you can see it's rough, but it's not 100% there. You can mash it to your own liking. If you like it pureed, puree it. So that's ready. Pork, I know is ready. So I'm going to turn the oven off completely. We're going to have this out. That will stay hot on that dish. It's an earthenware dish for a good 15-20 minutes, so I'm not overly concerned that I've got that out of the oven. Just don't want it to dry out too much. So you can see this is non-sticking, and will be wonderful. So sprouts are the last thing to test, and they are being very, very stubborn today. So I'm going to give them a little bit longer. I'm going to turn the heat right up. They are taking longer than expected. I know the joke about sprouts at Christmas, you put them on the 1st of September and they'll be ready for Christmas. Well, that's what this feels like this evening, but it's just one of those things. Vegetables take different times. Okay, so again, I will come back. Hi guys, welcome back. So another 5 minutes has passed and we're now ready to plate up. Sprouts are done. Just to show you, yeah, see they are nice and soft. So we'll leave them simmering, that'll be the last thing to plate up. So we're now going to plate, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these, put these on the actual block, and I'm going to chop them in half. And I'll explain the reasons why. Get that out of the way because that's piping hot. So basically we want to in half like so. We end up with 8 pieces for our family. You cut them to whatever size piece you want. Okay, so first thing on the plate will be the Swede. I'm just got to splodge that in the middle, like so. So on this one, this is for my daughter. She's not that hungry this evening apparently. So 2 pieces. And then sprouts to one side. She's not a huge fan of sprouts, so more for me and Mum. And then basically a little drizzle of BBQ sauce. There we have one barbecue belly pork with mashed Swedes instead of potato. You can do mashed potato, and we've done it with sprouts and bacon lards. So that's going to be yummy. I will take a still of that as well so you can see it close up. And we will see you again next week with our next recipe. So look forward to it. I'm going to place it up and we're going to sit down and eat. Thanks very much for your time.